Have you ever just been looking at your hand and wondered, man, what do all these lines mean? I mean, sure, there's plenty of books you can buy on the internet or some bookstore somewhere, but I mean, really, how good are they? Will they actually tell you what these lines mean? Or are they just gonna tell you a bunch of... I mean, yeah, that's pretty much about right. So let's go ahead and throw away that crap that you might have read from Joe Schmo on TikTok. There's only one person you should be watching, and that's me, Chuck. Chuck the Intuitive, as a matter of fact. And let's figure out what those little lines on your palm really tell you. What do they mean for you, your future? And what mysteries can they unlock? Let's figure out together with one of the best teachers in the world what your palm can tell you. I've got so much hairspray in my hair, you could crack an egg on it. And well, because of my dashing good looks, you could probably fry the damn thing on there too. So stick around. There's gonna be plenty more episodes to come. And we're gonna figure out what mysteries the palm holds. So let's go! God, are we done here? Oh, I'm sweating. I'm sweating. You know, much has been written on the topic of palm reading, and it can be confusing for the layperson, and maybe that's you watching. Kind of like learning a new language, or playing the guitar, or learning how to paint. It can be confusing, it can be difficult. You need a good teacher, that's right, like me. But beside me, who's a good teacher? I mean, who's teaching it the right way? Who's teaching it the way that literature has been written since, what, ancient Greece? And who's just simply, you know, blowing smoke? So I want to take a few moments throughout this series. Again, this is episode 1. I want to take a few moments throughout this series to lay down the groundwork, to really help you dive into what the palms can unlock. And maybe you're saying to yourself, Chuck, you're crazy. You're a nut. Well, you know, maybe you're right. You know, maybe I do kind of look a little bit like a weatherman here. I mean, maybe I am. So you can see here, Jim, we've got a low pressure system forming a tropical division here over the Bahamas. I'm not sure what that means, but if this puppy gets some oxygen, we're gonna be in for some trouble right over here along the Southeast Americas. Back to you, Jim. All right, so they told me to stop doing that. They said I was taking up too much of their time. Well, okay. Again, so maybe you're saying I'm crazy. Maybe you're thinking this is ridiculous. Well, if that's the case, then just think of it like entertainment, because, I mean, really, I have been known to provide a couple of laughs, a couple of chucks here and there, you know what I mean? I have been known to trip over the occasional banana peel or my own tooth. Ah! Oh! Oh! Oh, that hurt. Oh, that hurt. Oh. Oh. You know what? You do this for entertainment. Ooh. Oh. I really hurt myself here, guys. Now give me a second. Ah. So let's begin where everything starts. Life. The lifeline. Follow along in the video and take notes. You hear me? Take notes! This line is known simply as the lifeline. However, professional palm readers often refer to this line as the line of vitality, as it denotes the vitality one displays throughout their life. The line of vitality indicates the health of the subject over various periods of their life, as well as the energy, strength, and passion, capacity for love, and plenty more. Also, the line of vitality can show worries, anxieties, health issues, and many other events which may interfere with the vitality and energy and even the life of the subject. The lifeline typically starts in some area around here on what we call in palmistry the Mars negative or the inner Mars mount. It typically starts connected to the headline, although it doesn't have to, and that tells you something about yourself, and we'll get to that later. It can also start on one of the mounts, most likely the mount of Jupiter, like this. Mounts have tons of different characters and qualities that go with it, so if your lifeline does start on the mount of Jupiter, it indicates that you have a lot of leadership qualities. But we'll get to the mounts later. These are very important. Nobody said learning a new language was going to be easy. But hey, you're dealing with Chuck Intuitive here. I know what I'm doing, all right? I think I know what I'm talking about here. So let's just roll right along. One of the most important things, or maybe the easiest thing to check your palm for when you're a beginner, like you most likely are these lines here, cutting the lifeline. These are known simply as worry lines. You may see that you have a lot of them. You may see that you have very few of them. But these indicate a lot of stresses, a lot of worries, and depending on where they are on the lifeline, it indicates sort of what period of your life you'll be dealing with certain stresses and anxieties. And you may be telling yourself, well, Chuck, I don't have any of these. Remember, key number one, the palm is subjective. What may not be stressful for you may be stressful for someone else. So maybe you don't have a lot of worry lines and you're thinking, well, hey, Chuck, I'm stressed, man. I'm losing it. Well, maybe you just handle stress better. Maybe subjectively to you, things aren't really as stressful as maybe they are to some other person. You see what I'm saying? It's all about subjectivity. That's what this is all about. So stick along with me through these series, and we're going to dive into all of this, what it means, where these incidents will be occurring, like what age, how other lines can counterbalance. So maybe you don't have a lot of stress lines. Well, maybe because you have a good heart. Maybe you have a good head on your shoulders. There's tons of different things that go into this. I know you want to know about health, marriages, money. These things are all important, and these are things that we will get to. But for now, we got to focus on life, where everything emanates. Everything emanates from the lifeline, from life, energy. That's why some people wonder, well, why do I have a short lifeline? Short lifeline can indicate lacking energy and vitality, because that's what the lifeline is all about. A thin, weak lifeline, kind of like this, can indicate somebody who's a little weaker in life, a weaker constitution, maybe somebody who's more prone to illnesses, prone to stress, not being able to get over stress that much, maybe lacking some overall composition in their life. These are people you see trudging along, maybe eking their way through life, not really accomplishing much because of the lack of energy they have. The lifeline can tell you this. A normal lifeline typically will have its course like this, sort of hugging the mount of Venus or the thumb. This indicates good overall energy and vitality and good warmth and love. It also indicates pretty decent health, no different than anyone else. Typical ups and downs. A nice pinkish hue. A pinkish hue. You guys like that, huh? A nice pinkish hue is important. Now, some people may have a very thick, dense, and red lifeline. I have seen one example of this, and I wish I could find this for you because it was impressive. And this indicates somebody who is overabundant in energy, too much, restless, but likely a go-getter. You'd likely see a very thick red lifeline on somebody who's very successful, depending on other lines, of course. But think of people like billionaires, people like certain politicians. These are the kinds of people that would have these kinds of lines. It also indicates a very thick red lifeline would indicate, or could indicate, depending on other lines, an aggressive nature. I know it's a little bit confusing, but like I said, you're hanging with Chuck the Intuitive, the best. There ain't no one else like me. I know, some of you may have seen my lives, and hey, hopefully you're here for me now, and you're gonna like me here, subscribe to me, and continue watching my series, because there's tons to get into, and hopefully you enjoy these longer, episodic-like content, which we'll keep pushing out. So, there's tons more on the Lifeline. This is only episode 1. In further seasons and episodes, we're going to dive into this so deep. We're going to get our magnifying glasses out, and we're going to really get in there, so to speak. So, now comes the time of the show where we need to get into a real-life application of this. I've got a person whose palm I read, a person that I know pretty well. Well, not that well, but, enough to where they're comfortable having me read their palm. And I'm going to read just the Lifeline, and we're going to go over some of these things I just discussed now. So follow along. Follow along, folks. Here we go. Yeah. Alright, so now it's time for us to look at a real-world application here. Let's take a look at one of our guests' palms. Now again, we're only going to be looking at the Lifeline right here. So follow along if you want to, learn this stuff. If not, then, turn it off. But hey, subscribe. Anyway, so the Lifeline here, you can see that while it is a normal length lifeline for the most part, it's not necessarily straight and without any breaks. You can see here, there's a lot of little micro breaks. Now these do overlap, which is better than them not overlapping, but these breaks indicate incidents that are likely felt by the subject. These could be anything from traumatic events, depression, or some kind of not life-changing perhaps because they're small breaks, but things that just kind of disrupt the day-to-day life at the age. Now we're not going to be going over age in this video because there's a lot to that, and that's going to be an episode in and of itself. But typically, stuff that's at the top of the Lifeline is earlier in life, while the stuff at the bottom of the Lifeline is later in life, so just keep that in mind for now. You can see a lot of these breaks are occurring earlier in life, probably in the early 20s, mid-20s, up until about 30. You can see here about mid-years, things look quite good. There's a little line rising from the Lifeline. This indicates achievement, so this individual can likely expect something around 35-ish, give or take, some kind of achievement. This could be having a family, a good job. It could be anything that uplifts the individual and gives him energy and vitality. Now you can see there's a split right here later in life, and you can see after the split, the line, they continue, but they're a lot weaker. This is not the greatest indication, and it indicates a major life change. A split in the Lifeline indicates a major life-changing incident. This could be a move, it could be an illness, it could be many different things. And the fact that the lines are much weaker after this split tells me and indicates that this is likely something that depletes some energy and vitality. Now we're not going to say it's an illness because we haven't looked at the rest of the palm, although it could be. But it could also be something as simply as hitting menopause, aging, something that makes you weaker in life. You can see the lines don't necessarily get stronger, indicating that this is likely a lifelong thing after this change. There's a lot of stress lines, slight stress lines, nothing major, but you can see that the line itself isn't really that thick. It's not the clearest line, it's not the best line really, it's not very broad, it's sort of a narrow, sort of weaker lifeline. This indicates overall that the individual probably has a weaker constitution in life, probably has a more difficult time with energy and vitality in their life. And I know this individual, and I know that's the case here. So here's a couple of things that we went over in this episode, and there's plenty more. Trust me guys, we're gonna go into this much deeper, and there's plenty more lines to look at. Markings, the fingers, the palm types, hand types, tons of things that we're gonna go into that will broaden what this lifeline says. So, again, we're just getting started, folks. So I hope you found it somewhat enjoyable, somewhat entertaining, even though I did kind of hurt myself during the course of that fall. But hey, that's what happens here with Chuck the Intuitive. So stick around, maybe you'll see some more of that. There's bound to be some crazy things that'll happen here. And hopefully you're staying tuned for episode 2, where we dive into the headline, and there'll be many more to come. Let's give a warm, great thank you, a warm great. Hang on, I'm not reading the script. Let's give a round of applause to our guest who let us read their palm, because real-world applications are important. And remember, I'm going to be looking for other people who may want to volunteer their palm to be on an episode of Unlocking the Mysteries of Palm Reading. So if you're interested in that, send me a message. Also remember to catch me on TikTok. I do lives there frequently. 12 o'clock, midnight. You'll catch me there. Follow me there too. Subscribe to me here if you would. I mean, come on. It's the least you can do, right? I mean, I'm in a suit here. I'm sweating. Anyway, I hope you found this episode somewhat enjoyable, and I hope to see you again soon. Keep on the lookout for some books that I might be writing, some things on palmistry, and maybe some like little kits to go along and help you learn how to unlock the mysteries of palm reading. Until next time, have a great day, night, and well, if you're in another universe, whatever the end of that day is. Oh God, thank God we're done. Oh, I gotta get this thing off. I'm burning up, guys. Oh, I'm sweating. Oh. Yeah.